We're joined by Huang Haiyan, Managing Partner, China India Institute. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
You know, this has been kind of a unique last couple of weeks. A lot has been said, and maybe you can help us digest what were the top takeaway points that you got out of it.
The key takeaway is that the reform will be deepened. That deepening reform, structural shifts will pick up even more momentum. Even though the directions, the priorities have been laid out consistently from the 18th Congress, from the third plenum, from even in the 12th five-year plan, but you see the measures coming out, you see the push getting stronger. For example, the liberation of interest rate, I see that as a key reform point and many other pieces.
One thing that really stood out to me was this growth target of 7.5% and the fact they basically came out and said that that's not going to be a top priority. So I guess you can read it two ways. One, they're not going to hit the target, or two, they're going to focus on longer-term sustainable measures that's going to ultimately help the economy longer term. This is a pretty big deal, isn't it?
I think if actually Chinese government will stick to not let the actual GDP growth surpass the target of 7.5%, that is perhaps even a bigger deal. I think that really this time is to manage the economic growth by range, keeping the upper limit controlled by, say, keeping the inflation not above 3.5% or around 3.5%, keeping the lower limit to ensure 10 million new jobs, urban new jobs created. But really the key priority, number one, more than the GDP growth, is the sustainability, is to taking care of the pollution issue, which Li Keqiang declared war on.
I guess if you look back at the timeline, for a lot of our viewers, 5 years ago, the world was a very different place.
Yes.
Europe was a mess. The US was a mess. We were going into basically a global recession.
Yes.
Fast forward 5 years later, the world's very different. The US is now recovering.
Yes.
Europe is recovering.
Yeah.
Asia seems to have stabilized. And perhaps,
yes,
the priorities at the Chinese government is not to take care of the emergency of the past, but rather plan for sort of the growth of the future. Is that a good way of looking at it?
Yes, absolutely. I think that this is not only driven by the external environment, it's very much driven by the internal environment. I believe that Li Keqiang said, the environmental degradation has sent us a red signal. If there is a red signal, you cannot speed through the red signal. You have to slow down. You have to observe the red signal and really address the structural imbalance that has been talked about for all these years, which means structure shifts, slowing down, making the adjustment.
There are a lot of speculations in the press as to what China may or may not do on the financial sector. I'm just going to run a couple by you.
Sure.
So quick sound bites as to the speculation that the economy might be slowing, so they could be cutting the reserve rate requirement, which essentially is the lending ratio or the lending requirements that banks need to keep on hand. Is that a fair speculation?
I am conservative about that. I think that this prudent monetary policy is going to be the policy, not to give another big stimulus, not to create the bubbles or the debt issues we are facing right now.
The markets are concerned about the fact that this slowdown or stabilization of the property market isn't working as intended, so more measures might take place. That's why investors are a little nervous. Is that a fair?
I think that investors should be really looking at the tier 1 cities and tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities differently. I think the reason why we're not focusing on that, not in Li Keqiang's working report, is not a top-down, one-fits-all policy, but rather let the market play the dominant role. And as long as the government ensures affordable housing be provided for the poorer income families, and I think that's the priority number one. And let the market decide the price.
Another one, a further push to privatize the state-owned enterprises. That's been a big push for a long time, but it seemed to have perhaps slowed down a bit. Might it pick up once again?
I think that it's not so much slowing down, but more sort of rather than relying upon administrative orders from the top, from the government, let the market play the role. Let's do the factor market reform. Let's do the interest rate reform, and let's create the level play field. Let the private capital to enter more of the sectors previously reserved for SOEs. I think that that's the approach that we're taking right now.
The stock market, it's not doing well. I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
Why do investors feel so nervous in light of these relatively positive comments that we hear out of Beijing and from these very important meetings? The investors, both within China and outside of China, still have a lot of questions.
Indeed, if you look at the Shanghai Stock Exchange Composite, it has hovered around 2,000 since 2008, and it has never moved. But what is interesting is that Shanghai Stock Exchange is primarily dominated by state factors, SOEs, which are some of them are very inefficient. Banking sector, heavy percentage of the Shanghai Stock Exchange, and they're facing a lot of challenges. But where the bright spots are is really in a small cap Shenzhen Stock Exchange or the Nasdaq-like high-tech startups. They're actually doing very well.
Wang Haiyan, always good to get your candid thoughts. Thank you very much for helping us
pleasure.
break down all the big talking points coming out of Beijing.